Hello and welcome back to the lab. I finally get to shoot part 2 of the 600 subscriber video, so this is part of what the airline was added into the lab for. I've had this box and this box on the shelf here for a couple of months, waiting for this box and this box. This is the one that held up the production. This is actually the heart of the unit, and this wouldn't work without this, so I needed this to come in. Yeah, with that, let's get into it. I will start with opening up this box, and then we'll hit this one, and hopefully we don't run into needing any more parts, because this has been interesting. Also going through the documentation, we'll get into that. As everybody can probably see, this has to do with some soldering. And yes, I did need the compressed air line for soldering. And it's not a desoldering tool. So we'll see. We'll get into what's going on. Okay, first up is the Hakko FM-203. For 100% transparency, I'm not sponsored by anybody in the lab. I gave the guys over at T Equipment my credit card, and they sent me a bunch of boxes. So paid for all of this full price to add it to the bench. So no sponsors. Lots of cardboard in this one. So this one we're not going to have too many goodies in because I bought this one station only. So all we're pretty much going to get in this box is the base station. Now, there is some gravity in this. This is actually incredibly heavy for its size, big transformer. But one of the things that I like about the 203 specifically, I like it so much I bought a second one. This is actually my second 203 unit. Is it can handle a 140 watt iron and a 70 watt iron in the same station. So it can do two 70 watt irons. It can do hot tweezers at 140 watts, but it can run both. And there's switches in the iron holders. When you set the iron in, it turns them off and puts it to sleep. It has been incredible on my tip life. As a matter of fact, I have yet to change the tips that I use in the irons at all. I've never had to replace a tip yet. It knows what irons put in. So as you can see, some of the graphics, let me zoom in here a little bit. Some of the graphics here, the double tips, a desoldering tool, and an iron. The irons that I have right now are, I have the standard size iron, and I also have the micro pencil. I do want to get some of the tweezers. I'm not sure if I want to get the micro tweezers yet, or if I want to get the full size tweezers, or both. In breaking down some computer motherboards, there's some coils that I'm interested in salvaging off of some of the old motherboards, so I don't have to buy them. The only other thing that you get in the box is the security key. Since I'm the only one in the lab, that's not a huge deal for me. Actually, I'm going to turn that functionality off. But in a production environment, you can make it so if you don't have the key inserted, which that's backwards, if you don't have the key inserted, you can't change the temperatures of the iron. So you can set the temperature, pull this out. The operator can't change the temperatures, burn up a board. The other thing that comes in is a very nice power cable, very flexible. I don't know if this is silicone or not. The iron wires are, but I don't know about the power cable, but very nice North American NEC power cable. Next up is this box, which is actually quite long. Has an idea how big this box is. This is an 18-inch ruler, and I still have about yay much at the end where it's long. So this is actually quite a substantial box. The pictures when you look at this thing online do not do this thing justice. It is just absolutely massive. We have a 6mm press fit Y adapter. And this is what was actually back ordered on me. This is what was causing me to have to wait, being the heart of the unit. So this is an N2 generator. So when I get all the pieces of this thing together, this is going to be a nitrogen soldering iron. It's going to give me hot shield gas nitrogen at the tip, so it should have a insane amount of tip life, as well as give me some better joints because it'll displace the oxygen. So there's no way to for the joint to oxidize when there's no oxygen present. So primarily for lead-free soldering. Also looking forward to using this when I do some ceramic strip work on some of the older tech stuff and everything like that. This is, I mean, here's as size comparison. Everything's off. This is my 888D pencil. Like, this thing's just huge. This is the bigger unit, so this will generate more nitrogen and support 2 soldering stations, because this is the 781. The 780 is the smaller unit, but it can only support 1 station. I liked the idea of this one because I get a higher purity of nitrogen at a lower flow rate. So I can get more flow out of this and still get a high purity of nitrogen as opposed to the smaller unit. Now, what this does, this takes compressed air in and we end up with nitrogen out. So all this does, compressed air in, nitrogen out. Now, what this is this is a physical oxygen filter. So it filters the oxygen out of the airstream as it's going through, because the nitrogen's smaller, it can pass through the filter. This is why I had to be so aggressive with the filtering of the airline coming into the lab, is because hydrocarbons, things like that, will destroy this filter. Right here, you can see a little bit of copper here. This is actually where the oxygen comes back out into the room as it's bypassed the filter. So we have a nitrogen concentrator, generator, however you want to say it, but that's filters out the oxygen and then leaves the nitrogen. What else is in the box? Let's see. We have a couple of shelves. So this unit is actually designed for if you want to put the iron here and the gas flow meter here, you can do that with these shelves. Given that I have feet and this can be used laying down or standing up, I'm going to use it laying down, so I'm not going to have the irons hooked to this like I initially thought. I thought I was going to put the irons next to it, and I was going to have both of the FM-203s next to it, and I was going to have the gas flow meters up top, and it's going to be the tower of Hakko. But now that I see the size, I'm going to work with it differently on the bench. Here's the next box we come to, which is the FM-2026 kit. All that's in here is the iron handpiece, and, well, what's supposed to be in here is the iron handpiece and the gas flow regulator. So here's the actual FM-2626. Here's supposedly the gas flow regulator. Gas flow regulator. Anything else in the box? Doesn't look like it. So in the bigger box, we have the FM-791. This is the actual gas flow meter for the setup. So the nitrogen generator comes into here. Iron comes out of here. This is a flow rate anywhere from 0.25 to 2.5. But this isn't the heater. So the I needed this for the heater for the iron. This is just to control the gas. So to get this to work, those two have to work together. This is the iron itself, at least it should be. It does appear that it is. One thing we weren't sure of, especially because of the multiple times that I had to call and ask questions about this thing, we were not sure this collar came with the iron. It does, which is good because everything else is a la carte. There's a lot more stuff you need to make this thing work right, and none of it comes together. Like, actually, it doesn't even have a stand. I have to use one of the stands. I'm going to order a stand, but the nitrogen iron, the kit didn't even come with a stand. Now, they don't know if you're going to use it with this one or not, so, but the entire iron's a la carte. The power supply is a la carte. At least the handpiece and the gas generator work together. Now, if you don't have the nitrogen generator, you can feed this with just nitrogen bottles. So you can get a compressed nitrogen tank, pop it in here, but working in modified gas atmospheres, you have to be really careful with that, especially if the ventilation in your space isn't good. You can displace the oxygen and you can have a bad time. So especially when playing with gases in unventilated spaces, you need to, well, always use it in a well-ventilated area, but always be conscious of that is the nitrogen can displace the oxygen, and that can leave the technician in a bad way. We have a little bit more of a goodie bag. Let's see what this is. This is one of the silicone pads for changing the soldering tips. These are actually really, really nice. From Hakko, you can grab the hot tip and it won't burn your hands. Very, very nice pads. This is part of the stand, which I'll have to modify one of my stands for this new iron, which we'll do. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the micro stand. Oh wait, I can't because it's the wrong size. Crap, I'll have to use the big one. Okay, well, I'll have to use the big one. So I'll be on nitrogen only for a while, which is fine. This is a spring clip to hold the iron in the stand. I'll go through that here in a moment. And that is it in the box. This is one of the nitrogen hand pieces. You can actually tell because of the taper in the back. These are some of my other Hakko tips that I use on a regular basis. This is one of the standard non-nitrogen iron tips. This is the nitrogen iron tip. You can see the clips in the back. These actually catch in the handpiece to let it work correctly. So this is a this is a nitrogen tip. This is a non-nitrogen tip. I got a couple of more of these, which will be coming in another box. Let me clear some of this stuff off, and we'll start putting some stuff together. Okay, the last box, which I ended up with, this has been sitting on the shelf for a while. It was full of tips and nozzles. Now, what I mean by this iron is a la carte is the iron comes with one of these, but you have to buy the other one separate. You have to buy the tips, and you have to buy the nozzles. Now, to get the nozzles right, there's a document which I'll print out and go over, but the tip determines which nozzle it is. So it's almost the nozzle has to match the tip to get the gas flow right. So figuring out what all this was, and these aren't ordered often, so the sales guys were learning this as I was. We were surprised it was this a la carte. I would have liked to see a kit of the basic tip with the nozzle, with everything, signed, sealed, delivered. This is everything you need to get started. They don't do it that way, but if you're going to go into one of these, you're going to have to dive into the documentation because you're going to have to match the nozzle to the tip, and then the tip to the iron, and the handpiece, and the iron, and the rabbit hole's pretty deep. And now I'm going to need a base too, so, but that's either here nor there. Let me get my old iron out, and we'll assemble an iron. I'll get the nitrogen generator hooked up, and we'll see if we can at least make some solder hot. Okay, here's one of my old base stations, or my soldering station. So there's a switch in the station. You can see kind of how it moves. When you put the iron in, it goes to sleep and lets the tip cool off to about 300 degrees. It's fantastic. When I'm using it in production, I pick up the iron, hold it, it's ready to solder. It heats up that fast. So I don't mind letting the tip go to sleep. It's a fantastic feature on the iron. I absolutely love it, and wouldn't change that. This is the standard 70-watt iron. It's the 2027. So to change the tip on these, you squeeze here, just pop the whole cartridge out. This tip is, the tip is the whole heating element in the cartridge. So every time you have to change the tip, you do have to change the heating element. However, it recovers so fast, and I've been using this tip for years at this point, 2-3 years, and I haven't even had to change it. So this is the original tip that I bought with this iron, and I'm still using it. So do not mind. These are not horrendously expensive. I think a tip, at least when I was buying these last, one of these tips was like 27 bucks. But they say to get this ready, I have to pop this out. However, I think it's a little bit more, but it'll still work with the older iron, so I have to get this in up here. There we go. So that's now in, and that's the little wire piece that I had to change to get it to work. So this is a D08. I did buy the same tip for the nitrogen iron because I like this tip size quite a bit. So let me find the D08 tip, and I'll see if I can't get this iron assembled. Okay, here's the D08 tip. The D tips are the chisel tips. I bought 3 sizes, D16, what is this, D24, and D08. I use the D08 and the D24 the most. I do get the D16 just to have the size, but I don't know. I don't even know if it's going to show up on camera. It's a very small tip. However, it does have flat spots for the chisel tip, so it's real nice to work with. I do like this one quite a bit. So this pops in like so. Oh, the way the nitrogen comes in is this seals off the back of the tip. So the back of this handpiece is full of the nitrogen gas. There are these tiny holes. Come on, focus. Tiny holes in the iron. The nitrogen, the pressurized nitrogen goes in, runs along the heating element, and pops out right here underneath the nozzle. So when I put everything together, we have nitrogen in the back getting heated by the element and then out and over the nozzle. So this pops in like so. Should snap. It does. And that's installed, and you can see the gas inlets are right at the back of the handpiece. Now I need to figure out which nozzle goes with this tip, and they are tip specific, so I have to check the documentation. So my goal is to just assemble the tips and not have to change the nozzles. The nozzles are going to go with the tips, so when I do end up with that, that's just the way it's going to happen. They use the 2709. Let's see, that's the 2706, 2707, 2709. So this is the nozzle, the 2709 for the D08. And this just comes together like so. Give that a good, yep, that's tight. And now you can see where the N2 is going to come out of, right here at the tip of the iron. So you have the working tip. Now that's kind of bulky. I mean, if we compare the two tips to the brand new one and then the one that's well loved, this does have a little bit more bulk to it. So getting it super fine areas on a board might be trouble, but I don't work on that high density stuff that often, so it shouldn't be too much of a deal. And this iron is very well loved. I've used that tip for a while. And then to put this all together, just like the old ones, this one just pops in and seats, and there's a gas seal here, out there, so that should be connected to the iron. So the power comes in on underneath, the nitrogen comes in up here, gets warmed up, and hot nitrogen should come out right there. And here we go. One assembled soldering iron. So I got to get the gas meter hooked up and the nitrogen generator hooked into the airline. I'll get the nitrogen generator hooked into the airline because that's going to go back in the back of the lab, and then I will be back to hook the rest of it up. Okay. So in the back here, this is just 6mm tubing. You just click it in, and it locks in real nice. Need to get that over. And here's where this is going to live for now. Let me hook that up to the N2 generator. For the iron, we're going to make the connection into S, just like that. We're going to push the tube until it clicks just like that. And we should have power and nitrogen to the station. This came in the box. This was billed as an N2 shield. I have no idea what this is. If anybody has any idea what this is or how to put this on, let me know. I'm not going to launch it. I'm going to keep it, but I don't know if it doesn't work with this base state or with this station or not, but I have no idea what this is. So if anybody's got an idea, let me know. Okay, I have the regulator set to 100 psi, which is just under the 0.7 MPa that the 178 is spec'd for. And at 1.1 liters per minute, so 1 liter and under at that pressure, we should get a 99.9% pure nitrogen atmosphere coming out of the tip. So let me go ahead and turn the valve on. Okay, it's charged. And let's turn. Whoa, way too much. All right. There's our 1 liter a minute. Oh yeah, I can hear it. Very quiet. It's so quiet it doesn't even register on my microphone pickup, but it is there. I can definitely hear it. If we go up to 2, we get 99.5. So I can go to 1.5 liters a minute without trouble. Oh yeah, that's much noticeable. Nah, you still really can't hear it. You can't hear it on the microphone. I can feel it though. Okay, let's let me get it turned on, and we'll tin the tip and see where we go from there. Okay, I've got my fume extractor set up. I've got, let's see, what is this? This is 6337 with a 3.3% flux, some Kester solder. I have the iron removed from the stand. And what we're going to do is we're going to fire up the heat source and get ready to tin the tip. I haven't changed. Up. There it goes. It's pissed off because I didn't have a iron in port 1. Oh, it's already hot. Wow, this thing heats up fast. Okay, let's try that again. Not bad. Gonna have to do some tweaking on the station. It's saying 350, so that's probably Celsius. So that is very warm. But let me get the station set up, and then I'll be back, and we'll do some soldering. So I got a just a small kit to do some soldering with. I'm gonna try to do some soldering around the camera. I do want to get a top-down camera for some of the soldering, but I'm gonna do the best I can with what I've got at the moment. But here's the kit, and I'm just going to do some soldering, a couple of quick joints on here, and then I will finish up the kit and then show the results at the end. It's just a cheapy kit from Amazon, but I'm not going to use the batteries for sure. Well, I might have to use some batteries. But it had a nice, huge display. So I really liked the display on here, so that's why I went and grabbed this one. Here's the board, nice and tinned. Everything looks good. Well, let me just get into it. This really isn't going to take long. Here's all the parts. So I'm going to just do this whole thing. Oh, I need my lead jar. Always save clip leads. Very useful. Never know when they're going to come in handy to bridge a gap, make a jumper, do whatever. Always save clip leads. It's been a while since I've assembled anything from total scratch, so I'm going to freeform the leads by hand, so this might be better. These are very thin. And just to make sure, this is the component side of the board. Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. Wow, these resistor leads are thin. Very thin. Not too hard to get between those switches. The wetting of the joints is really nice. Joints are wetting very quickly. Doing this so I can get a good angle on the camera. I want to work this way on the board, so it's yeah, doing it for a good angle for the camera is interesting to say the least. I will try to solder left-handed. This is not a specialty. Can a fancy iron make me good left-handed? Probably not, but we'll see what happens. Even without flux, or minimal flux, that joint wetted. That's actually kind of impressive. 18 puff. Are these the 18s? Yep, these are the 18s. So these go around the crystal. Ooh. Gonna have to get those from the back. Some decoupling capacitors for the ICs. There we go. What is this? Remove after washing. Oh, this is probably a speed. Yeah, okay, it's got a buzzer. Pop him in. Make sure the LED is in the correct way. There we go. Switch. I have a single transistor. Okay, there isn't anything in Q1. And my pin 1s are over here. What is this IC? This IC is a 123 AFI. No idea what that does. There we go. Cool. What I'm doing is I'm just getting a little solder on the parts to hold them. I'm not soldering the joint. We're just getting hold down. I think that's good. So now what I can do is I can flip the board over. Oop, the speaker fell out. We'll get that one put back on. And of course, that's the LED. So we'll do the LED real fast. Push that in from the bottom of the board. And there we go. Now we'll just run through the parts real quick. Oh, that's for the battery. That makes sense now. Now I'm bouncing around a little bit because I don't want... Actually, I should move the fume extractor back up here. I don't want to overheat the individual ICs. So that's why I'm kind of hopping around a bit. Adding a little bit of solder to the buttons on the bottom just to make sure they're good and connected. Give that IC a rest and trim up some of these leads. Crystal leads are a little small to go in the cup. However, everything else will fit nicely. Didn't solder the other side of that lead. These need some more. Now, I was worried about my compressor in the garage keeping up with this soldering iron. I didn't really have a conceptual idea how much just a liter a minute, like 1.5 liters per minute flow of gas was. It will have zero problems keeping up. I've been doing this entire board and I haven't heard it kick on yet, so no problems whatsoever keeping the soldering iron in compressed air. That's the display. Okay, here's an up-close look at some of the board this is before cleaning the joints. Made some real nice solder joints. I have not cleaned the flux off yet. That's next. Going to hit it with some isopropyl alcohol. There are the switch joints. These were kind of big. It's looking in really good shape. Let's see, this is the speaker. There's the LED. That's just a resistor. Come on, focus. Sorry about the focus issues if these have been going kind of crazy. Let me clean some of the flux off, and then we'll throw some batteries in it and see if we don't have a clock. Well, I've hit a snag, as with all things. This is a AAA battery holder. I don't have any at the moment, but I want to work on this video, and I'd like to get this recording wrapped up. Very fortunately, I have a power supply that thinks it's a battery. So I've imported my AA profile into the battery simulator, and I'm getting some hookup leads right now. Positive and negative. Okay, we have our positive and negative hooked up. And let's see, just for grins, let's set state of charge at 50%, so our batteries are half flat. So we'll set our state of charge. We can come over here. Oh, actually, can make that be 100%. I can also wind it down to 50%. Set our state of charge. Let's see what it does to our timer. Turn the output on. That board is really crunchy. I can feel it. There it goes. Oh yeah, any kind of bump to the board. See, what are we drawing? Yeah, we're drawing about 30 milliamps. Ha, that's the problem. Okay, it's not really the board that's crusty. If this will focus. There's some dry joints. I missed some solder joints. Let me get that IC soldered here real quick. We'll do this on camera. Oh, I should have turned the gas on. I'm still not used to that. So that was just the soldering iron dry. Put a little bit more solder on the tip before we put it away. All right, let's hook the power back up and see if it doesn't behave a little bit better. It probably will, given that I had some very flaky connections. So we're still at half battery. Turn the output on. Oh yeah, much better. Help if I knew what these buttons did. But much better now that the IC's fully connected. And then if we long hold this, resets the timer. So it's on. We'll let it count some. Pause it. It'll go up. Pause it. Hold this in to reset it. Now I can add minutes. Reset it. Add seconds. And it's in countdown mode. And every time that's supposed to be orange, it's actually white, but that button will add 5 minutes to the timer for a maximum of 60 minutes, so I can pause it, clear it, and 20 minutes. Works perfect once you actually solder all the connections. So that works. Beautiful. Thanks for stopping by the lab and taking a look at the 600 subscriber video in which we added nitrogen soldering to the lab. A lot of people are probably going to say it's excessive and I've overdone it, but I've been curious about it for a while and wanted to try it. So And I do think it's going to help with some of the restorations that I have planned in the future. Let me know what you think. I will see everybody in the comments section, and I will see everybody in the next video. Bye for now.